part of the work I do too is giving people inner tools and strategies to live their life. And what I mean by that is it's not just about the food. It's what you think. It's how you navigate. It's how you view the world. It's not letting the past drive your present, because all of that impacts even your ability to look at being plant-based as an option.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Zero Doubt Podcast. And today we have an awesome soul on, Diane Randall, who really, wow, all the things that you have accomplished, just so amazing. So you are a life balance, mental wellness, self-care, self-realization, plant-based nutrition, and whole life wellness expert, who has shared all of her talents on stage and has spoken and has instructed and is an author and has done some stress management for the Chicago Police Department. And you have publications on Vegan Stream, Plant Pure Nation, New York Times, Balanced Choice, Consultant Magazine, Active Times, and American Holistic Health. And you have your own podcast, which is the Plant-Based Curious Podcast. And you've also been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with me and sharing your story and all of your success and techniques with the audience. So, I just want to ask you, have you always been like this, or how did you get here?
This is a culmination of life, being on my own journey, really.
Okay.
And everything that I learned and experienced, I just shared with other people. And over time, you just kind of collect experience, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where did it all start? Where did your journey start?
Oh, gosh. My journey started, and I'll have to back it up because it's really more than the food. Being a young engineer, newly single, divorced mom, really put me in a place where my health wasn't too great. Because I had an awesome career that I really wanted, that demanded everything of me, and I was also a mom, I literally was fading fast with chronic illnesses. I had high cholesterol, keep in mind, I'm really young, high blood pressure.
How old were you?
I was about 30.
Okay. All right.
30 years old, late 29, 30. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I saw my life, I have these children that I have to raise on my own. And also 10 years before that, I had a sister that was murdered. So I was going through my life kind of numb in the beginning, and then just having all that weight on me made me want to figure out, how can I be happy? How can I be healthy? I have such an awesome opportunity to be a great mom and to have a great career. How do I balance my life and my health and all these chronic conditions, which are really signaling to me that my health was on a downward spiral?
Wow. Okay. So what did you do?
Well, at that time, I really just started reading. There weren't podcasts back in that time. There wasn't the internet, not really. So what I did was I read books. I attended, back then it were called teleconferences. I attended lectures. I listened to people I wasn't plant-based back then. Plant-based came much later, but it was just, how do I get rid of the stress and have more balance in my life? So I looked at people who focused on wellness. I started exercising. I started really trying to understand, what does wellness mean to me? What does health mean to me? So fast forward, after attending the workshops and reading, everything I learned, I shared with other people. And as time went on, people started asking me, what are you doing? Because I went from most likely depressive state to being happy and really wanting to move forward in my life. So it wasn't just balance, it was also I needed some inner strategies to also live my life. So I went through a life coaching program, which it was really for me, but I ended up doing that. I also started looking at uh, my spiritual well being. How do I look at the world? What does that look like? What kind of thoughts do I have running through my head? What kind of programs in my head do I need to pay attention to or learn how to release? What I needed was tools to live my life. So my journey has just helped me to learn tools to help me move forward in my life. And when I got stuck, I went to therapy, I went to classes, I have teachers along the way who really supported me on my journey. So it's been many, many, many years of just looking at, what do I need and how do I need to move forward.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. My journey is very similar. I think it does start with eating the right foods, right?
Yeah.
And so you went straight into plant-based. No? Okay.
No. I've been plant-based for 20 years, and I literally uh, live my life without even thinking about food, not thinking about what it was doing to me. Now, on some level, I kind of knew, right? But I really didn't focus until later, till I got sick or started getting sick. Um, and just starting to understand that food really impacts the body.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, then I went to nutrition school because I thought I was, quote, healthy. Okay. I listen to the commercials, I read the books. So, I'm eating healthy, but just to really learn, what am I really putting into my body? So the best thing out of all of this was understanding what a healthy, clean, plant-based diet has done for me in my life. It's been 20
Mm-hmm.
years. I was plant-based first, and the veganism came a few years later.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So how fast after switching diets did you start to notice a difference in your body and in your mind, everything?
Immediately.
Like the next day?
Okay, here's one big example. I went down 2 sizes in my clothes. It freaked in about 3 months. It freaked me out so bad that I didn't even believe that I was going to stay two sizes smaller. It was so quick. I thought, as we all do, you gain, you lose, you gain, you lose. I thought it was one of those things. So I lost that weight, and the biggest thing that happened was I lost my sweet cravings. I lost my cravings for sweets, for processed food. They all
After
went
about
away
2 months.
after about 2-3 months.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
So
and that was on.
Yeah, so when someone says, well, this is going to be too hard to maintain the light, not eating sugar and cutting back on all this, everything changes potentially in 2-3 months.
Everything starts to change. But here's the thing. I was committed to the process. Mm-hmm. I had intention with the process, because here's what I've learned. If you don't clear your palate of those processed foods and those sweets, or start using some type of low glycemic sweetener, then your body won't release the cravings. That was my experience, because I was a sugar addict. And now when I look back on that experience, I'm just so grateful, because I believe I would probably be so sick now or, have a lot of the chronic conditions that so many people have, because initially I went plant-based for my health.
Yeah.
For health reasons.
Yeah, 20 years ago. I mean, who knows what would be right now if you didn't make the decisions you did, right?
Right. But I knew I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and like I said, I'm at a younger age, and all of these and my doctor's telling me you got too much stress. You're telling me about some what do you call it, a metabolic index, that if you don't really watch a few things, you might have a heart attack or a stroke in the future. And those things got my attention.
Absolutely. So what would you tell someone right now that's like, pre-diabetic, severely overweight, and, they're not sure that they can do this?
Well, I do hear this all the time. And I do have people tell me they can't do this. And what I would say is you can. You could try with your next meal. And what I mean by that is you can, and this is what I call crowding out. You can eat what you eat, but put vegetables on your plate. And the idea of crowding out is to eat the healthy vegetables before you eat your pork chop or your macaroni and cheese or whatever else you eat. It's not being hard on yourself. It's one step at a time, one day at a time, one meal at a time. And today it's really easy to become plant-based, because you can do meatless Mondays. You could just try one day of eating healthy food, even if it's meatless meat, or even if it's no meat. You get to decide what will that healthy meal look like, and you can tweak the meal that you eat today. You can make most meals healthier today. It's totally different today.
Yeah, so true. Just take it one day, one meal at a time. Never look too far ahead, because you don't know. Maybe your palate's going to be different in a couple of months, right?
Not just that, when you go to some event, some barbecue, and some Thanksgiving, some Christmas, some holiday gathering, you might partake in the festivities, but it's not shaming or putting guilt on yourself. It's really starting every day is a new day, and really looking at the process with intention. But here's what I have experienced. When you start seeing those results, especially the weight loss without even trying to lose weight, just eating healthy, just eating plant-based, that's enough to get people focused, when they start feeling better.
Absolutely.
My blood pressure's lower. I don't have that cholesterol. I did my blood test today, and I don't have those chronic conditions that I have. I'm not pre-diabetic anymore. I mean, it's some beautiful results in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a miracle what food can do. So,
yes.
Okay, so you got healthy or eating food, but you said then there was some stuff going on with the mind, the old programming. Can you talk about that and how that's changed?
Well, what I'm saying is, and part of the work I do too, is giving people inner tools and strategies to live their life. And what I mean by that is, it's not just about the food. It's what you think. It's how you navigate. It's how you view the world. It's not letting the past drive your present, because all of that impacts even your ability to look at being plant-based as an option.
Right.
So what that does is, and I teach classes on setting boundaries, the negative self-talk. So if you're looking at plant-based and people say, I can't just live off a salad, it's not about salad. It's having an open mind to really look at what does it really mean to be plant-based, instead of stopping yourself, oh, I don't want to eat salad, or the food doesn't taste right. It's just having an open mind and being able to clear all that, all what you thought you knew about food. And what I usually say is being willing to unlearn everything you thought you knew about food, or what the commercials say, or what all the marketing gurus say. It's just being open to that experience.
Right. And do you have like any specific strategies that you coach people on doing that?
Well, first of all, what I've learned is you have to come with a willing spirit. You have to come with a willing mind. Can't do anything with someone that's not open to change. That's what I've learned the hard way.
Right. Can't change anybody.
Can't change anybody, just myself. But just being open to something new, open to trying new things, open to learning that you can always experience something new. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are, really. Just being open to some new experiences, listening, being able to listen and hear. I'm not saying you have to listen and take on everything somebody says, but take on what resonates with you. Giving things a chance. And I'm talking mentally, because if your mind is not open, forget the plant-based anything. And I have a best friend, and he's like my best challenge, because he's always told me I would never go plant-based. And he's had so many health challenges, but he'll still say to this day, I can't do that. I won't do that. And I've just learned to share if he's open, and but not put anything on him. I just try to be a role model myself versus trying to tell people what they need to do. But I'm around people that are my teachers of I'm not being plant-based. I don't, I do have all these diseases, but I'm not going to give up what I love. So that's my constant, I say, teacher.
Yeah.
of really respecting people and accepting people right where they are, because at the end of the day, they know what's best for them, and really trying to embrace that. It's challenging sometimes, but I have to respect that.
Absolutely.
Not that I'm the food police,
So, I mean, okay, there's the food aspect of this, but at the same time, you can substitute food for career, relationships. At the end of the day, it's all being open to all categories of life. And, you didn't end up on the Oprah Winfrey show just because you were open to food, or did you?
No, it was about relationships. I was out in the West Loop of Chicago at a cocktail party, just having a good time. And I really didn't know that her producers were going to be there. This wasn't planned. So it was really about relationships. Not that I felt at the time that I was perfect authority on the relationships, but once you start taking care of yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually, you can make room for new ideas and new experiences, and not bringing the trauma that you had from the past of a relationship to the present. You're able to speak freely with clear thinking. That's what I felt that experience was about. So it's the mind and it's the body. It's really focusing on taking care of myself, practicing self-care, practicing balance between my work and my personal life at the time. And COVID just, really ramped up things, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
But just trying to be balanced in my own mind, my own body, and my own spirit.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. So because you didn't bring past trauma with you into the current relationship or the experience that you had at that party, that gave you an opportunity to meet that person and be on the Oprah Winfrey Show, because you were clear-minded, you were present.
Yes. Yes.
You were not sick, you were not hurt. You processed all that stuff, and that opened up an opportunity.
Exactly. And that's how I feel today. And I always say I teach classes that no one ever teaches us: how to set boundaries, how to let go of the past, things that I've felt over time has helped me to clear my own mind and move forward and not just hold on to what happened in the past. So I feel those are key things that also need to be a part of the food package. Because if you can become plant-based and vegan, oh my God, what courage. if you can become plant-based and vegans, that means you have let go of a lot of toxic people, the courage to be a standout, the courage to not be guilted into doing things that you don't want to do. I mean, being plant-based is very powerful. I didn't realize that at the time. I just remember the experiences where I didn't feel too good emotionally. You know, I'm standing out. I'm at Thanksgiving not eating what my family eats, and I'm feeling like I don't belong because food is the centerpiece for most of our lives. And when you take that out, it takes a minute to shift and say, okay, what am I doing here? I just remember those early experiences and feeling like I don't even belong with my family anymore. But that wasn't true. It's just being willing and having the courage and walking through that fear of it's okay. It's okay. And having my own values different from my family and friends and being okay with that. Because it's huge. It's a huge process. And that's why I say it's more than the food.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know if I told you, but I've been plant-based since July of 2021. So I know exactly, I know exactly what you're talking about here. The social aspect is the challenging part of it. But you're right. You know, you hear that voice of self-doubt that like others are judging you, and that's part of reprogramming the mind, because at the end of the day, no one really cares. They're living in their own world and they're doing their own thing. So just be you. Just be you.
Be you. But we all know that's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
But focusing on being plant-based and vegan puts you right on the path.
It does. It does.
And to stand up in your own courage, because if somebody says, you know, they have a dinner party and they're serving food, and I had plenty of people say, you know what, I was practicing plant-based and vegan, but then I went to this party and I didn't want to hurt their feelings, so I just ate. But it's standing in that, because I feel nobody asked me what I wanted, you know, and you make sure you communicate that to the host if you can. But if you look on that menu and you can't eat anything, I usually eat before I leave home. That way I'm free. I'm not hungry. I'm not hangry at anybody because they don't have any food for me. But it's just standing in my values and what I believe in, and not really worrying about anybody else around me in terms of needing their validation of my journey.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So you talked about that you teach about setting boundaries, and also how important it is to let go, and you teach on that. So let's talk about those two. Let's do setting boundaries.
Okay, so the setting boundaries, and this is key in plant-based life as well. Because people, and I always say people don't know you, they don't know your edges, even your family, especially if you're just that person who wants to be loved and liked. and that's how you lead in your life, right? You don't have a threshold, okay, until you're angry because somebody kept pushing you. Whereas what I tell people is you have to know what you want or what you need from other people, whether it's your boss, whether it's your significant other, whether it's your children. You literally have to teach people how to treat you and teach people what you need from them. It's not a magical thing because as children, I'll just speak on my life. Nobody really asked me what I wanted. So I really didn't learn about boundaries until I was a young adult. And most people learn about boundaries in the workplace. You know, that boss comes over and he asks you to, if you're in an administrative position, he needs a report by the next day. He wants you to, I have a technology background, so that's what he tells you. He needs you to build that report, and it's 4:00, and you have to get to the daycare center. And because if you don't have any boundaries, what are you going to do? You're going to just stay there, work till 6, get charged the extra fee because you were late to the daycare center instead of expressing a clear and firm boundary. And that with kindness, and a lot of times it's negotiation. So when do you need this report? Whoever the person's name is. Oh, I need it tomorrow. I can have it for you at 8:00, 9:00, 10:00, or whatever it is. It's setting that boundary versus not saying anything, but then you're full of resentment, you're angry. And then people say, well, I'm uncomfortable doing that because, I don't want to make him uncomfortable. But here's the thing. If you never say anything, one day, he's going to ask you to do that report. And then you're just going to yell, scream, or do something out of the ordinary in terms of your behavior. So what I teach is to help people become aware of boundaries. Where is my threshold? What can I do? What can I not do? How can we negotiate what I need and what you need?
Coach people into what you need because they don't know. And don't be afraid to ask, because at a young age, someone told you don't ask so many questions.
Well, and that's the problem. I grew up like that.
A lot of people did.
Seen but not heard,
Yeah.
So we have to undo so much of that. But it starts with practice. It starts with small things. And I always ask people, they say, well, how do I know that I have a boundary that's being crossed? Oh, you know in that moment when somebody asks you to do something you don't want to do, we all get that feeling in our gut. And we tell ourselves immediately, oh, geez, I don't want to do that, to ourselves. But in that moment, why can't you just, practice, pause? I mean, I'm definitely not teaching people to just go. I'm not doing it. It's always with kindness. It's always with love, but the boundary has to be clear and firm.
Right. Because it doesn't do anyone any good if there's no boundaries.
That's right. It doesn't do you any good, and it doesn't do me any good.
Yep.
But can we have that conversation before things go crazy?
Exactly.
Or get haywire, and we ruin the relationship most likely. Or I have so much resentment from you if you're my boss that, you know what, I'm going to leave. It's being proactive with your life, with your emotional life, because we have to take responsibility for what we can take responsibility for. And what we can put in place, like boundaries, it's really good to do that. And it just starts with practice. It starts with something really small. And the people that get angry at us are the people who don't want us to change.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Because there's plenty of people that do, that you haven't even met yet.
Well, that's right.
You haven't even met them yet.
But it just allows you to navigate freely in your life without always having some type of grievance or grudge or some type of angst about something.
Right.
You know?
Practice. It's all about practice.
Practice. It really, and small steps.
Don't go straight for the boss saying, that's it. You need double the raise or you're out of here.
But it's having that conversation.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, people think if you are authentic and transparent with someone that somehow it has to be drama. It doesn't have to be drama. It really doesn't.
Yeah. If anything, there might be less drama if both of the people are open.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Great advice there. What about letting go? Now, this is a tough one, so I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, this is a tough one. This is a real tough one, but it's you have no control over what happened, okay? You have no control over what happened. And keeping tabs on the past, no matter how many times you look back to the past, there's nothing more to see. There's nothing new that's going to happen. So what if you can take all those issues and challenges that have manifested because of the past, and you could really think about what healing could look like. And the question I would have is, what would your life be like if you weren't carrying around what happened as a kid? What would your life be like?
That's a great question.
I mean, it's for a second thinking about your life being free of that. Who would you be? How would you navigate around in your life if you didn't have that in the past?
If you just had a clean slate, right?
If you just had a clean slate. Because the past is not going to change. And a lot of times, if we're independent on what happened, our present is manifested around that past. Nothing different's coming in. The people we meet, the people we date, a lot of the life that we have has some connection to what happened. And we may not even realize it, but we are navigating in our life through a filter of what happened when I was a kid. And I'm not saying you have to get rid of everything that happened, because we never get to anything else. It is, what are those things? What are those things that are manifesting and controlling your life? For example, when my sister died, I was afraid of noises. I thought I was going to die any minute. I didn't go around a lot of people. So you see how what my life became. Before, I recognized that I needed to find a way to release myself from what happened to her and get some healing for myself, which took over time, so that I can see life for what it is. And I'm not controlling where I go because this happened. I don't want my kids to go here because of what happened to me, because you want to live your life in the present moment. That's where freedom is. That's where freedom is.
Yeah, so true. So true. So I want to talk more about Oprah Winfrey. Were you actually on the show?
Yes.
Okay.
I was a guest. I got picked up. I was in the green room.
That's awesome.
This is a long time ago. I probably should take that off. That was so long ago.
Okay, but you talked about successful relationships, and this is a big topic because I think all of us out there want to have great relationships. So what are some tips besides, setting boundaries and letting go of the past, what else would you tell someone?
Well, what I tell someone, because the hardest relationships are with the people we love, brothers, sisters, parents. And I would say in my own life, as a practice, I've learned that I can't change anyone. I have to accept my family dynamics for what they are. I can't expect my mom to change. She is who she is, or my father to change because of all these things. I can only control me. And I'm also okay with, is that dysfunction so bad that we're always fighting or there's just some drama? And I learned that it's really okay to distance yourself. You can love someone, but you can love them from a distance. You can love them and still talk to them twice a week or once a month or 6 months. You know, it's all love. And here's another thing that happened with my sister's passing. When I was younger, I would take all kinds of emotional beatings because I lost my sister. I felt that no matter what, I had to be in relationship. But then once I got the help I needed and I learned differently, I recognized that if you can't be in a position of love for that person, you step back as far as you can so that you don't have that energy. And if you're on the phone, and this is a practice I have to this day, because you don't cut off everybody that upsets that upsets you, right? So I could be on the phone, but the minute that conversation starts going into something toxic or dysfunction, I get off the phone. Not till I get to the point where, I'm cussing, we're going back and forth. When you get to that point, and believe me, I've learned this, okay, then it's time to retreat from that conversation. Because once you're arguing and screaming at each other, that's not a productive place to be, mentally, emotionally, or even spiritually. And we're not perfect. Those things happen, but it's recognizing what happened and seeing, okay, what do I need to do at this point? Or maybe that conversation was complete and I just need to give it some space. And that's my favorite word, giving space.
Giving space.
Meaning that, yes, space for that person to figure out what they need to do. Or I never feel that there wasn't something I said or did. You know what I mean? But that's not an immediate position that I go to. But can we talk about it?
Yeah.
And you don't start a conversation with you. It's I.
It's I.
It's I.
It's always I, right? It's always us.
Yeah, it really is. I.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one last tip you want to leave the audience about anything and everything. What is it?
The biggest thing I'd like to say is you can start your plant-based journey on your next meal. With your next meal. You could start today. You could there's plenty of recipes online. If you know anybody plant-based, you can call them up. But they say, well, how do I know I want to be plant-based? Well, what is your health like today? Maybe that's the first thing you can do is look at where you are with your health and your well-being. Where are you? And if you're going to the doctor, you're on a bunch of meds, then today is the day.
Today's the day. Go plant-based. You don't have to maybe do it forever, but do it to clear up what's going on, right?
You know what? That's what I tell the challenging people. Just do it until your numbers change.
Yeah.
Just do it until your numbers change.
Amazing conversation. Diane Randall, the Plant-Based Curious podcast. If you're thinking of going plant-based, check out her podcast. How else can people find you?
I also have an online community called Plant-Based Curious. And I have articles, I have recipes, everything you can think about. And it's for the curious. It doesn't matter if you're a vegetarian, if you're a meat eater. If you're curious and you want to explore, then that's the place for you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because it's not like, okay, you got to go 100% and just eat plant-based. Maybe you want to go 50% and you're not sure what meals to make or eat or so on. So,
well, it's about evolve. I feel that I evolved to where I am today, to being 100%. You know, it's not putting that guilt on people that, I mean, we grew up that meat and processed food is in our DNA and in our mind. Okay, so it's not an overnight proposition at all.
Yep. Nothing is ever overnight.
That's right.
It's all love, right? Just like you said.
Yeah.
Okay, Diane Randall, thank you so much for coming on Zero Doubt Podcast. Thanks, guys, for listening. And if you have any questions or, again, want to reach out to either Diane or myself, and we'll have a conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.